I'm John Walsh, and I've dedicated my entire life to locking up the worst criminals. Since 1988, we've caught 1,191 fugitives.
We're tracking down one of the most ruthless gangs of lawbreakers we've ever gone after,
including several of the FBI's most wanted. And we've reunited dozens of missing children with their families. But the job continues, and this time, my son Callahan joins the fight. With your help, we're going to put more low-life criminals behind bars, including these that you'll see tonight. Up first, a nursing student vanishes in the night before her body turns up in the North Carolina woods, and the man suspected of killing her is on the run. Then, authorities bust a sophisticated drug ring on the East Coast, but one of its dangerous alleged traffickers manages to escape. We need your help to find Samuel Rhodes. And finally, a DNA match that shocks investigators on both coasts. Have you seen the man police say is wanted for this mother of five's gruesome murder? America's Most Wanted is the original true crime series. You can run, but you can't hide. I'm John Walsh.
And I'm Callahan Walsh. And this is America's Most Wanted.
Tonight, thanks to your incredible tips, the AMW catch counter is up to 1,192 captures. We put another dangerous fugitive behind bars. Now, 2 weeks ago, we asked for your help finding Davy Albaron. He went on the run after being charged with child abuse, molestation, and sexual battery of his own family members who were minors.
When his two adult daughters found out what he had done, they made it their mission to find him and get his victims justice.
So this is my father. He's Osceola's most wanted for his crimes against kids.
When his last victim came out, who happened to be my daughter, everything came out.
So I found out last year that my father hurt my niece. I got upset and I posted this on Facebook. Like, in a matter of hours, this was viral.
I just want to give a big thank you to everyone who's been helping us and supporting us. That means a lot to my family and I.
Anna and John Ady's story was so inspiring. I knew America's Most Wanted could help catch their father. What would you want to say to him?
How dare you? How dare you? I trusted you with what was most precious to me. You know, I just turn yourself in. That's all I can say. Turn yourself in. We're not going to stop.
He's on my personal top 10, and I never quit. We never quit.
Thank you so much.
After our show aired, tips started coming in, placing Albaron in the Tampa, Florida area, specifically in the town of Lakeland. Just before midnight on February 18th, authorities surrounded a house belonging to one of Albaron's relatives. Two Polk County Sheriff's deputies and their canine partner caught Albaron in the backyard. Thanks to some quick police work, your tips, and the dedicated work of his own daughters, Davy Albaron was finally behind bars. Any scumbag who harms a child is nothing short of a monster in my book.
Davy's daughters, Anna and John Ady, are so grateful to all of you at home.
Thank you to America's Most Wanted and anybody who called in with a tip that helped get justice for my daughter.
Thank you to John Walsh and to Callahan Walsh and to everybody there at America's Most Wanted.
And we did it!
Now, that's one more fugitive off the streets, and we know tonight, with your help, we can get that number even higher. Now, to our first case.
A young woman immigrates to America to rebuild her life after a personal loss, then mysteriously disappears. She had a really bright future, studying to be a nurse, and made an impression on everyone she met, including the man allegedly responsible for a crime so callous, so brutal, it landed him a spot on the FBI's 10 Most Wanted.
Truck Quan Lai Lee, we know her as Sandy. She was from Vietnam and she came here to live with relatives in Charlotte after the death of her mother.
Sandy was a very good student. She was going to school at Queens College and she was studying nursing.
She worked at a Greek restaurant, a chain here called Shomar's.
Everybody just had nothing but fantastic things to say about Sandy.
Sandy bonded quickly with her co-workers, especially Alex Castillo, who she started dating. Their relationship ended in April 2016 when Sandy stopped working in the restaurant to focus on school and continue her dream of becoming a nurse.
On August 9th, Sandy told her family she was running out about 8:45 at night to the local store to pick up something. They were very troubled when she didn't return home because Sandy is very accountable. This just is not like her.
When Sandy didn't return home the next morning, her family filed a missing persons report.
Detectives started looking through Sandy's iPad, and we discovered some conversations between Sandy and Alex. Sandy had loaned Alex $1,000 about 2 months prior. She wanted her money back. On August 9th, he communicated, "Hey, I got your $1,000. Let's meet up."
As we follow up on Sandy's bank records, we recognize that the night that Sandy goes missing, one of her cards has been used at an ATM to make a large withdrawal.
She withdraws another $1,000. That stumps us because the original meetup plan from Alex was to return money, yet she is at the ATM withdrawing more money. But she does not appear to be under any duress.
2 days after Sandy's disappearance, and with still no leads, police and family members continued their search of the greater Charlotte area. Meanwhile, 2 other Shomar's employees are also reported missing by their families.
Charlotte Mecklenburg 911.
I want report I lost my son. No me contesta el teléfono. Su teléfono está apagado.
Alex Castillo and Amia Feaster, who Alex was now in a relationship with, have not returned home or responded to calls and texts in almost 48 hours.
When 3 young folks go missing at the same time and there's no explanation, it's not just family members that become concerned. That certainly starts sending up alarm bells for us as well.
Then on August 13th, 4 days after Sandy's mysterious ATM withdrawal, and 2 days after Alex and Amia go missing, the investigation makes a shocking turn.
Alex and Amia call their parents individually and let them know that everything's fine, but at no point are they able to explain really where they've gone to and where's Sandy.
Alex and Amia say they've hit the road. They were last seen here at a QT gas station on the east side of Charlotte on August 10th at 4:33 in the morning. But since Alex was the last person believed to see Sandy in person, detectives think the couple could be hiding what they know about her disappearance.
The Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department reached out to the FBI to assist in a missing person investigation. We gathered information from speaking to relatives of Amia and Alex, and that they were trying to go see his father in Aguas Calientes, Mexico.
We obtained video of them crossing over the border.
You see Alex and you see Amia. It looks like they were packed, ready to go. It was planned.
With confirmation that Alex and Amia crossed into Mexico, detectives still needed to find Sandy.
Charlotte police utilized every possible resource from the helicopter, canine, patrol, you name it, to actively look for Sandy. Based on phone records, Sandy received a text shortly before midnight on August 9th. And from that, we were able to track her last location. And we were able to zone in on an area close to the woods in Harrisburg, North Carolina.
On August 17th, a day after Alex and Amia escaped to Mexico, and 8 days after Sandy made her fateful ATM withdrawal, investigators make a shocking discovery deep in the Carolina woods.
Sandy's body was discovered. Sandy had been shot in the back of the head. This was now a homicide investigation.
Those are the words that no parent, no family member ever wants to hear, because when someone you love goes missing, you hold on to the hope that they're out there alive.
And that's why we talk about this so much at the National Center. Time really is of the essence. If you believe your child or teenager has gone missing or has been abducted, call local law enforcement immediately.
Now, when we come back, a planned escape and surprise betrayal that gave investigators a lead they weren't expecting. Plus, the FBI is offering a $25,000 reward for information that will lead to the arrest of this man, an alleged key figure in a large-scale international drug ring. And later on, two thieves in Tampa target multiple valet stands, stealing the keys and driving off with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of luxury cars. Help us find these creeps before they do it again. And remember, you can make a difference. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. Now, before the break, we saw a missing persons case turn into a homicide investigation. And the two people who were thought to be with her became fugitives, and one of them wanted for murder. So let's see why police need your eyes and ears now more than ever. 2 months have passed since Sandy Lee was found murdered deep in the Carolina woods. Their co-workers, Alex Castillo and Amia Feaster, escaped to Mexico, but as the pair try to evade authorities, troubles arise.
Amia Feaster was living with Alex's family in Mexico. She did not speak the language, and it was a lot different than she was accustomed to. In the beginning of October, it's believed that Alex left her. Here she is with a family that she doesn't know, no money, and I think she missed home. Amia Feaster turned herself in. And from there, we coordinated the apprehension to get her back to the States. She does admit that she did drop Alex off to meet Sandy. A robbery was planned. They were already packed. They were already ready to go to Mexico. There is text exchange between Alex and Amia. Alex was telling her to hold on, that he was doing something with the evidence. She 100% knew that Sandy was dead. So Amia Feaster was charged with accessory after the fact of a felony, which is the murder of Sandy. We are still looking for Alex.
To the best of our knowledge, we believe that Alex is still in Mexico. We know that he's got a strong support system there.
Sandy was just a phenomenal person. This case was senseless. It was brutal. It was calculating. And this one here is one that will always stay with me.
I don't think Sandy's family will ever lose hope in Alex being apprehended and brought to justice.
We're joined now by Joe Petito, who, like me, knows the pain of losing a child all too well. Joe, thanks so much for being here.
No problem, John.
Good to
Appreciate
see
it. Thanks for being here, buddy.
Now, social media had a big part to find Gabby. And in our case tonight, it's surveillance. You know, Joe, that surveillance video is what helped track Castillo to Mexico. And pinging Sandy's phone helped find her body. These are new techniques that are so helpful. Technology has really changed the game, hasn't it?
It does make a difference. Social media was a huge impact on helping us find Gabby, you know, and it's a huge tool that people can leverage to find their missing loved ones. And the more you can try to get that exposure out there, the better your chances would be.
Now, you founded the Gabby Petito Foundation in 2021 after your daughter went missing. And I know you work with local groups as well, searching for missing children. What can communities do in cases like that to help?
The more exposure you get, the more people that get, you know, that have eyes on these missing flyers, the more that gets shared. The more that gets shared, the more maybe local or even national news will pick up those stories. And that's what you really want. And that's why stories and stuff that you guys do is important, because it gets, you know, their faces out there. Like the one that we're talking about here, getting his name out there and a picture out there on a national, you know, broadcast is hopefully going to have that huge impact to find him and bring him to justice, because Sandy's family deserves that.
Absolutely. That's what we're all about.
Investigators told us that Sandy's family found some comfort in the fact that her body was able to be recovered. What would you tell her family? How do they keep going?
You and I talked about this. How do you take a tragic loss and deal with it?
No, that's it. You actually gave me some of the best advice, you know, during that time. And you can go down that dark path, or you can go to kind of what you do, the pain into purpose type of deal, you know, and really try to focus on healing that way. And that's something that I do. That would be my recommendation. I don't know what's going to work for them. And to be honest with you, I'm still trying to figure out myself.
God bless you for what you're doing. Your daughter's up there going, go, Dad, go, Dad.
I hope so. You know, I'm hoping at the end of the day, after all the work that we do collectively together and all the help that everyone got and all the support, it's got to continue for others.
Well, keep up the good work. You're making a difference. We're proud of you.
Thanks, John.
Thanks for being here.
Cal, thank you very much.
Have you seen Alex Castillo? Alex Castillo is wanted for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution for murder. He's got black hair and brown eyes. He's 5'6", and at the time he was last seen, weighed about 185 pounds. He'd be 25 years old now, and we have an AMW age progression of what he may look like today, both with and without facial hair. Authorities have a strong reason to believe that Castillo is hiding out in Mexico, but he may be in Aguascalientes, where he has family, or the Mexican states of Guanajuato or Veracruz. It's also possible he's made his way back to the States. He has ties to Phoenix, Arizona, and his last known residence was in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives, and they're offering a reward of up to $250,000 for information that leads to his arrest. Doesn't matter if you live in the U.S. or are friends in Mexico. If you have any information, remember, you can always remain anonymous. Call us or go to our site, 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com.
Coming up next, a small town in West Virginia becomes an unlikely epicenter for narcotics trafficking. And in the middle of all of it, one man who police need your help to find. Have you seen Samuel Rose? And later on, a woman is murdered on the East Coast, and the DNA from the scene links the suspect to an assault 5 months earlier on the opposite side of the country. And the dangerous suspect is still out there. But first up throughout the show tonight, we'll be featuring local crimes that we need your help to solve, maybe right where you live. Police need your help tracking down a pair of suspects who have recently stolen luxury vehicles from more than one valet in the Tampa, Florida area, in possibly up to 5 related incidents. Watch this surveillance video of the pair from last summer, Tweedledee and Tweedledum, casing the unattended valet stand before brazenly grabbing the keys in plain view of everyone around them. Take a good look. Without anybody suspecting, one locates the car in the lot and waits for his buddy to drive right out of there. Here they are again a month later, helping themselves to keys from the valet stand before hopping in another car that doesn't belong to them and driving away. Police say these two may be allegedly responsible for 5 different incidents of vehicle theft, including a Land Rover Discovery, a Mercedes C63, and a Lamborghini. If you've seen either one of these lowlifes, call us or send us your tips right now. 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. Now, the number one goal for AMW is to find fugitives, but also to find as many missing children as we possibly can and reunite them safely with their families. So this week, we need your help to find 13-year-old Noelle Sophie Zizi. Noelle's from Kennesaw, Georgia, but maybe in Dallas, Texas. She has brown eyes and black hair. And when she was last seen, she was 4'1" and weighed between 90 and 100 pounds. Noelle went missing in October 2021. So if you've seen Noelle Zizi, please call us or send your tips to 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com. Let's get her home safe and back with her family where she belongs. Cal, over to you.
Martinsburg, West Virginia is known for its historic past. Walking down Main Street, you'll find buildings standing from the 1700s. But these days, the small town feels different, dangerous, and has become a breeding ground for drug traffickers.
Martinsburg, West Virginia is a very friendly, close-knit town, about an hour and a half from Baltimore, Maryland, and about the same proximity from Washington, D.C., where you really do get to know your neighbors. Unfortunately, our proximity to the cities makes us an easier target in the drug epidemic in our area.
But with a high level of addiction in this state due to its bad job market, dealers and suppliers in large cities look at us as a cash cow in a sense. A lot of the local dealers that we see in West Virginia are children that grow up in the juvenile justice system that we've dealt with when they were students, engaged in low-level drug transactions, and as they become adults, they become higher-level drug dealers, like Sammy Rose. Samuel Rose is a community member that grew up here in Martinsburg. He's a very intelligent person who used that high level of intelligence in his criminal activity.
And unfortunately, we've had dealings with Sammy Rose through the years.
He's been involved in violent crimes for years.
In 2000, he committed armed robbery, pistol whipping an individual.
In 2007, Samuel Rose was selling crack. He was prosecuted federally, was sentenced, and he ended up serving approximately 8 years imprisonment. When he was in prison, Samuel Rose's drug connections increased and grew. So when he was released after serving his sentence, the 8-year hiatus actually increased his drug dealing in the area. We started to investigate using a confidential informant who could directly purchase from Samuel Rose.
Those controlled purchases allow us to follow through surveillance and learn that Samuel Rose was accessing larger quantities of narcotics than we had known him to access before his arrest.
Eventually, we are able to apply to the court for a wiretap on his cellular device. And that really gave us a breakthrough in being able to determine the breadth of his drug trafficking network. There would be calls to obtain cocaine lining up where these transactions would occur.
Were you still on the side? Or did you get to the side yet? Well, I'm about to come on your side now. Send me the attic.
That ended up leading us to an appliance business in Hagerstown, Maryland, known as Top 3 Sources. Top 3 Sources looks like an appliance store that could be on any street in America. They advertised that they would sell on credit, they had a showroom, and they also had a seemingly legitimate bank account. And through surveillance of Top 3 Sources, we saw appliance shipments at odd hours of the night. And it appears that shipments are coming from a connection within the Dominican Republic. So that was suspicious.
We intercepted communications regarding drugs being trafficked from the Dominican Republic. We learned that the organization was concealing the drugs in the appliances, washing machines, dishwashers, dryers, refrigerators, often concealed in the frame of those appliances. Those appliances are then packed into large sea containers, shipped up to a port here in the United States. Those sea containers are loaded onto trucks and then transported to Hagerstown, Maryland, where Top 3 Sources was located.
Through our investigation, we learned that Sammy would obtain large sources of supply and distribute them in the Martinsburg area.
At this point, we understand that Samuel Rose is a member of a much larger organization.
The owner of Top 3 Sources was identified as Lenin Erasmo Lunamoto, also known as Poppy. He was at the head of the drug trafficking organization. His right-hand man was Juan Manuel de la Rosa Tejada, and he was known as Little Poppy.
In this organization, Sammy Rose plays the role of the West Virginia drug distributor. It's a huge role for the organization because all the money that comes from places like Martinsburg, West Virginia, makes its way into the organization through the drug sales of Sammy Rose.
At this point, we had been involved in the investigation for almost a year. We learned that Top 3 Sources had residential units, and at least one housed Little Poppy. So we were able to obtain a search warrant for Top 3 Sources. When officers search, they find a significant amount of drugs stored in the appliances. There was approximately 1 kilogram of fentanyl, a significant quantity of crack, and then also about 8 kilograms of cocaine.
Arresting Little Poppy was a huge accomplishment. Taking that individual out of the equation was going to have a huge impact for this organization's activities here in West Virginia. The next step is to remove Samuel Rose.
We're seeing an unprecedented crackdown on high-level drug traffickers right now.
Last year, in what they called Operation Blue Lotus, Homeland Security seized 900 pounds of fentanyl and 600 pounds of methamphetamines at the southwest border. And keeping that off the streets, well, that's tremendous, because it's not just this poison, it's what comes with it. Violent crime, illegal gun trafficking, and death. It's a whole package.
Which is exactly why we need your help finding Samuel Rose.
Now, don't go anywhere, because when we come back, officers have put their lives on the line to bring down Rose's operation in a risky raid. We'll see what happens next. Then, he acted alone, changing his identity, keeping a stunning secret for his entire life. A case we even featured right here on AMW way back in 2010. Bank robber turned fugitive Ted Conrad. You won't want to miss this. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. Now, before the break, authorities had tracked a West Virginia drug ring all the way to the Dominican Republic, a sophisticated operation using appliances to hide and transport the supply. And they were preparing a risky raid, looking to bust Samuel Rose and the men he was working with. Let's see how it all went down.
The amount of drugs seized from the top 3 appliance store was easily over $500,000 worth just in one particular day of what this business was doing.
Ultimately, we were able to indict 34 individuals in this investigation, to include Sammy Rose. When our officers went out to effect his arrest, we were unable to locate him. At that time, we realized that Sammy Rose is on the run.
2 years after the indictment, in September of 2023, the owner of Top 3 Sources, Lennon Erasmo Lunamoto, also known as Poppy, was finally found and arrested in the Dominican Republic, and he was sent to the United States to face charges.
Sammy Rose is the last major player from this organization that we've yet to apprehend.
We know he has family and friends in the area, so we do not believe that he would stray far from some type of support network.
The FBI has put forth a reward in the amount of $25,000 for any information that leads to the successful apprehension of Sammy Rose. He's been involved in drug trafficking. He's been involved in violent crimes. We believe that Sammy Rose is a very dangerous individual. He's on the run, and he does not want to be apprehended. That's why this is very important to us, that we can get this threat off of the streets.
Now we're joined by someone who knows firsthand how drug trafficking works and has put many of these types of criminals behind bars. Former DEA agent Bill Bodner.
Great to be here, guys.
Nice to meet you, and congratulations on 32 years on a really dangerous job. What's the craziest case you ever did?
You know, one of the funniest things I was ever involved with was in the 90s. A group from the Medellin cartel, they were smuggling cocaine from Los Angeles to New York. They had purchased Willie Nelson's old tour bus at an auction, complete with the Highwaymen mural on the back, and they used that every week to run hundreds of kilos of cocaine from LA to New York.
So ingenious some of these guys are.
The ingenuity in smuggling is almost without limits. They will do anything that works. Using appliances, using any kind of heavy equipment, industrial equipment, something that's not really going to be searched because it looks so innocent, and it's able to be packed in a container and shipped by freight.
In this case, the drug ring was out of the Dominican Republic. They were highly sophisticated. What kind of manpower does it take to run an operation like that?
It takes a lot of manpower. Like, this is obviously a large, complex organization, and we saw the indictment of 30-plus individuals. That's a lot of work to put that type of case together.
How crucial is Rose's alleged part in this drug ring?
It's extremely crucial, John. He is the man. He's the one that can convert the drugs to cash. Don't forget, these are greed-based businesses. The real reason they're doing this is because they're greedy. They want to make money. He's the one that has the customers, and he can turn that product into cash. He's a valuable person in this conspiracy.
Back in the day, it was the big boys only. Now it's into these little towns, and it devastates these towns.
Especially in West Virginia. I mean, they were hit hard by the prescription opiate epidemic in the late 90s, early 2000s. And as a nation, as we tightened up on the prescriptions, the demand was still there. So what happened? The drug dealers recognized that, and they started stepping in, filling that void since that time.
We know Rose had most of his ties in West Virginia. In your opinion, do guys like him stay in that area where he has connections, or do you think he's on the run somewhere else?
He's probably in the Middle Atlantic region, Cal, and I suspect that he's got a taste of the life from drug trafficking. If he needs money, he's going to still be involved in drug trafficking, probably working with some of the contacts he has in the area.
So you think he's still involved in this now?
He very well could be.
Well, thank you for your hard work.
And thank you for what you do. You got me interested in law enforcement in the late 80s, and that's why I had the career I had.
Fantastic. Thanks for your hard work all these years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Samuel Rose is 43 years old with black hair and brown eyes. He's 5'8", and when he was last seen, weighed about 165 to 190 pounds. He has a scar on his stomach and a barbed wire tattoo on his left arm. Rose is facing multiple felony drug charges, including aiding and abetting the distribution of heroin and fentanyl. He has close ties to Martinsburg, West Virginia, and the surrounding areas of Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Maryland, and Prince George's County, Maryland. If you see Rose or have any idea where he might be, do not approach him. He's considered armed and dangerous and has a history of violence. Call us or send us your tips now at 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com.
Next, a murder in Maryland is linked to an assault 4 months earlier way across the country in Los Angeles. Can you help us identify this dirtbag? Plus, a dying confession unlike any other. This fugitive reveals his real identity to his family. All this when we come back.
Last August, a 37-year-old Maryland mother of 5 went for a hike and never came home. She was reported missing, and the next day was found brutally murdered in a wooded area just off the hiking trail. When authorities collected and ran the DNA evidence that was found on her body, it was linked to an assault case that happened all the way across the country in Los Angeles just a few months prior. Can you help us find the man responsible for both?
Rachel, I know that when people looked at her, they saw how pretty she was, but what made her special was the part of her that shined through. Her personality. She was very kind and loving, very outgoing, always laughing.
Rachel Morin was a single mother of 5 kids who ran her own business, a cleaning company. And on August 5th, 2023, she headed out on the Ma and Pa Trail around 6:30 in the evening. When she didn't come home, her family knew right away that something wasn't right. The next day, her car was found, still parked at the trailhead. And soon after, so was her body.
We're never going to be able to have Rachel back. Our children are never going to have a mother to watch them grow up. It's broken our family apart.
Since Saturday, August 5th, 12 days ago, the Harford County Sheriff's Office has been working around the clock to get justice for Rachel Morin and hopefully bring peace to her family.
Authorities didn't have much to go on, but they collected DNA samples from Rachel's body. This DNA was put into the National DNA Database used by law enforcement, and what they discovered next would baffle everyone.
This DNA evidence has come back as a match, tied to a home invasion and assault of a young girl in Los Angeles this past March.
Hartford police were shocked to find that Rachel's killer had left a DNA trail behind in South Los Angeles. They learned that on March 26, 2023, he had entered a Los Angeles home and attacked a young girl. He was captured leaving the house by a home surveillance camera. The suspect left behind a hat, which is how the LAPD was able to obtain his DNA.
Not to have any real definite information about what happened to Rachel. It's like we have no hope. We have no closure.
These victims and their families deserve justice, and we need your help to get it. Now again, the first incident tied to this suspect happened in Los Angeles on March 26th of last year. 4 months later, on August 6th, Rachel Morin was found dead along the Ma and Pa Trail in Bel Air, Maryland, and the DNA from that crime scene matched the DNA from the incident in LA. This was a mother who left behind 5 kids. It's very possible that there are more victims out there. But recently, authorities released a couple sketches of the suspect, so take a good, long look at this guy. In one of them, he's wearing a hat, similar to the one left behind at the crime scene in Los Angeles. He's described as a male in his 20s, who's 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighs about 160 pounds. There is a $35,000 reward for any information that leads to the identification and arrest of the man that murdered Rachel Morin. Please, if you know anything, contact us immediately. Do the right thing. Call 866-AMW-TIPS or go to amwtips.com. And we have a very interesting vault case this week. Dad?
Now this one is pretty special. In 1969, Ted Conrad walked out of the Society National Bank with a paper bag containing $215,000. More than 50 years later, as he lay dying, his daughter Ashley was shocked to find out that her father had committed one of the biggest bank robberies in the history of Cleveland, Ohio, and had lived his entire life under a different identity to avoid arrest. We're going to talk to her about this mind-blowing discovery and what it meant for her family. But first, take a look at this clip from an episode of America's Most Wanted that aired in 2010.
Another fugitive who could be anywhere tonight is Ted Conrad. An all-American kid with boyish good looks and charm to match, Conrad grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. In 1969, he got a summer job.
Ted Conrad had been the vault teller at Society National Bank.
But he had bigger dreams.
Ted Conrad had been obsessed with a movie known as the Thomas Crown Affair. And his friends tell us he watched it at least 6 times. And the movie was all about a bank heist. And it appears that Ted Conrad may have modeled himself after that.
According to the FBI, on July 11, 1969, Conrad left the bank with his lunch bag. Inside of it, $215,000. When tellers realized the money was gone, they noticed Conrad was missing too. The daring robbery made national news, but Conrad vanished. If you know where Ted Conrad's hiding, please call our hotline to take him down.
Now we're joined by Ashley Randall, Thomas Randall, a.k.a. Ted Conrad's daughter. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here, Ashley. You know, for 52 years, your father hid his identity, was running from the law. I mean, you had no idea this was going on.
We had no idea. My dad was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer in the spring of 2021. And about a month before he passed away, he said, "Ladies, I changed my name when I moved here. The authorities are probably still looking for me."
And you two passed out. No, what?
We thought at first it was a weird dad joke, like trying to lighten the mood. I Googled him that evening, and I just found page after page of, vault teller robs bank. He's been missing for 50 years.
Right.
U.S. Marshals were looking for him. That was terrifying to me, that he was still actively being hunted. It was heartbreaking because it felt like the guy I knew was being erased by one day in his life.
Did you ever find out what he did with the money?
By the time he got together with my mom in the late 70s, the money was gone.
So Ashley, how did the Marshals piece it all together?
Somebody, I still don't know who, sent my dad's obituary to a crime writer in Ohio, who then passed that along to the marshal. And then I believe that they matched handwriting samples from my dad's college applications, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then my parents filed for bankruptcy in 2014, so they had his signature on public record there.
Were there any signs that your father was capable of something like this, eluding law enforcement for as long as he did?
Absolutely not. He was just the best dad.
Yeah.
Somebody who drove me to school every day. He made my lunch every day. He was the dad that's there for you. But him being fluent in French and keeping that a secret is somehow more shocking than him being a fugitive.
He spoke fluent French and you guys didn't know the whole lifetime?
He helped me with my French homework the way any parent who doesn't speak French
never started spouting out in French.
No. The one thing I have from him was when I was learning to count, he would say the way to remember 16 is because when you're 16, you says everything. That's his French knowledge he imparted on me.
He's got to be the most disciplined fugitive I've ever heard of. Well, thank you for having the guts to come here, clear up all this mystery. We profiled your dad on America's Most Wanted, so it closes that chapter, and I'm glad he didn't go on to a life of crime or hurt anybody else.
As am I.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
When we return, a recap of all the dangerous fugitives from tonight's show. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Horrifying surveillance video of a midday murder in cold blood. It happened last September on the 7300 block of 19th Street in Philadelphia. Police have now ID'd the shooter, 39-year-old Rodney Zellers, and need your help to find him as soon as possible. Watch as the suspect gets out of a 2012 blue Ford Edge, makes his way across the street to the 26-year-old victim, gun in hand. From another angle, we see Zellers walk right up to the victim and fire several shots, striking him several times in the torso before running back to the 2012 blue Ford Edge with PA tags, LLM 6974, where an unknown female driver is waiting for him. As soon as Zellers gets in, they quickly flee the scene. The victim died from his injuries soon afterward. Philadelphia police are offering a reward of $20,000 for any information that leads to the arrest of the suspect, Rodney Zellers. Take another good look at him. He's a 39-year-old black male, 5 feet 9 inches tall, and weighing 350 pounds. You seen this scumbag? If so, send us your tips. 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com.
Now, if you know anything about any of the fugitives you've seen tonight, please do the right thing and contact us immediately. Alex Castillo is one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives. He's now 25 years old and is 5'6" with black hair and brown eyes, and when last seen weighed 185 pounds. He may currently be in Aguascalientes, Mexico, or in the states of Guanajuato or Veracruz. He also has ties to Phoenix, Arizona. We have age progressions of what Castillo may look like today, and there's a reward of up to $250,000 for information that leads directly to his arrest.
Now, Samuel Rose is 43 years old with black hair and brown eyes. He's 5'8", and when last seen weighed between 165 and 190 pounds. He's got a scar on his stomach and a barbed wire tattoo on his left arm. Rose has ties to Martinsburg, West Virginia, and the surrounding areas of Washington, D.C., Baltimore, and Prince George's County, Maryland.
And finally, this unidentified suspect linked to an assault on a young woman in Los Angeles and the murder of Rachel Morin. Take a really good look. He's a male in his 20s who's around 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighs around 160 pounds. DNA evidence puts him in Los Angeles in March and in Maryland as of August 2023. But authorities think he could be anywhere, and police need your help.
And remember, even the smallest tip could break these cases wide open, so please, stay on the lookout.
If you have any information about these cases, call us or go to our website now, 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com. I'm Callahan Walsh.
And I'm John Walsh. Thanks a lot for watching, and remember, you can make a difference. Good job. I'm John Walsh, and I've dedicated my entire life to locking up the worst criminals. Since 1988, we've caught 1,191 fugitives.
We're tracking down one of the most ruthless gangs of lawbreakers we've ever gone after,
including several of the FBI's most wanted. And we've reunited dozens of missing children with their families. But the job continues, and this time, my son Callahan joins the fight. With your help, we're going to put more low-life criminals behind bars, including these that you'll see tonight. First, we need your help to find the man police believe is behind a double murder and police shootout.
Shots fired!
Burning down the family farm before disappearing into the Wisconsin woods. Then, it was one of the biggest gold heists in U.S. history, and even more monumental was how anyone could have pulled it off. And finally, a 14-year-old boy is wanted for a deadly shooting spree at a Texas convenience store. And the teen's accomplice was none other than his own father. America's Most Wanted is the original true crime series. You can run, but you can't hide. Hello, everyone. I'm John Walsh.
I'm Callahan Walsh.
And this is America's Most Wanted. We are back again tonight with a lineup of dangerous fugitives that we really need your help to find.
The AMW catch counter is currently at 1,191 catches because of your tips. And I know that tonight, with your help, we can get that number even higher.
Now, as always, we have our team of investigators, local and state police, and the FBI, all standing by for your information about these cases. Please send us your tips, and don't forget you can remain anonymous. Let's make the world a much smaller place for these scumbags. So let's get right to it. A horrifying double murder and police shootout rocks a quiet Wisconsin farm town, and the man suspected to be behind it all disappears without a trace. Authorities now desperately need your help to find him.
Happy birthday, dear Daddy.
My parents were Jim and Nedra Lemke. They were high school sweethearts and had been together ever since then. They had 5 kids. I am the second oldest. I have a brother, Joe. There's myself, my sister, Amanda, and a brother, Jacob and Josh.
Both of my parents were very involved in the community, their entire lives, very involved in the church, very involved in their kids' lives. They worked with a youth group, taking a lot of foster kids to the home. As much as my parents were known for helping people, my uncle, Kevin, my mom's brother, was a black sheep of the family. As the son-in-law of Jim and Nedra Lemke, I am married to their daughter, Amanda. My wife, Amanda, does obviously still struggle with talking about the past and trying to make sense of what happened and why it happened. I would see Kevin every Christmas Eve over at the family farm property. Kevin was just kind of that tough guy persona, hunting and fishing, and he'd talk about pickup trucks and guns and drinking, and he had troubles with the law and drugs and alcohol.
He was that uncle that you didn't talk to because you felt uncertain around him.
He was always a very intimidating personality for me. He had an intense just persona about him. His parents, my grandparents, lived out on a family farm. There's about 40 acres of farmable land and horses, pigs, a couple cows, just your rural Wisconsin farmer. Kevin, the oldest son, was always the executor of the will. As my grandfather got older, my mom was the one taking them to all their doctor's appointments, and she was the primary caregiver in managing their health and managing the farm.
Due to all of the support my mother had given to my grandfather over the years, my grandfather decided to make my mother the executor over my uncle.
As my grandfather got closer to death, the conversations between my mother and Kevin became more heated. He had thought the farm was going to be his.
In June 2020, my grandfather Verdell passed.
When my grandfather passed, my dad asked me if I would be carrying a gun at the funeral. Being a former Green Beret, I spent 8 years in the Army Special Forces. He knows I have guns, so I asked him why. My dad, for a quote, said, because Kevin's going to be there, and I'm not sure how he's going to act. So I agreed to do that. It was definitely a gigantic red flag of kind of where the tension in the relationship was.
4 days after Vidal's funeral, Nedra reaches out to her brother Kevin about some rather routine chores she wanted to do at their parents' farm. Jim and Nedra arrive at the farm later that evening, but something seems off. They notice several broken windows. At 5:48 p.m., they call 911 to report a potential burglary.
Jefferson County 911.
Hi there. I'm taking care of my parents' house, and there's windows broken out and windows open.
Please don't go in, because we don't know if someone's still in there.
All right.
That would be the last phone call she ever made. What the couple don't realize is Nedra's brother, Kevin Anderson, is stationed inside the farmhouse at the second-story window, armed with a hunting rifle. he fires 2 fatal shots. The first one hitting Nedra in the abdomen, and then a second shot hitting Jim. 12 minutes after Nedra's 911 call, a Jefferson County Sheriff's deputy arrives in response. He notices the bodies of Nedra and Jim. Recognizing there may be an active shooter, he seeks cover behind his vehicle.
595.
Just as the deputy is radioing for backup,
Shots fired at the residence! Shots fired! Shots fired!
not knowing the shooter's line of sight, the deputy makes a run across the property away from the home.
.595, upper window.
The deputy seeks cover in a nearby ditch with tall grass.
595, I have a female laying down next to the vehicle, 1 male in the back.
Minutes pass while the deputy waits in the ditch. Once he sees backup arriving, he radios that he's making his way towards them.
581 coming to you.
While the deputy was seeking cover, police believe Kevin Anderson intentionally lit his parents' house on fire. Most likely as a diversion. After the home burned, officers descend on the property and discover Nedra and Jim's deceased bodies. Law enforcement search the property and find no signs of Kevin Anderson. Later, forensics inspected the remnants of the home and found no evidence of the shooter's remains or the hunting rifle. A manhunt was led through the surrounding rural farm areas, which includes dense woods and marshland. They were unsuccessful in locating the suspect. It's believed he escaped to another state or has fled to the Wisconsin wilderness.
All right, now we've got a lot to unpack in this case. Later, we're going to talk to Jim and Nedra Lemke's children about this horrible murder. But right now, the focus is on where Kevin Anderson could be.
Authorities believe Anderson has likely fled Jefferson County, but based on the fact he's an avid outdoorsman, it's highly likely that he's somewhere in the woods.
How far is Sumner to Canada?
It's about an hour west of Milwaukee and about 500 miles south of the Canadian border, but the northern parts of Wisconsin and the surrounding states are heavily wooded and can be pretty remote, making them perfect hiding places for Anderson.
Reminds me of Ted Kaczynski, you know, the Unabomber that hid in the woods for so many years. Well, if you're a hunter or outdoorsman in the north woods of Wisconsin, Minnesota, or Michigan, please keep a lookout for this creep.
Kevin Anderson is now 65 years old with brown hair and blue eyes. He's 6 feet tall and when last seen weighed 200 pounds. If you see Anderson, do not approach him. He's considered armed and very dangerous. Call or go to our website, 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com.
Coming up next, we'll learn even more about this story when we return. We talk to 2 of Jim and Nedra's children and hear what they have to say about their uncle, the man police say allegedly killed their parents. Plus, in North Carolina, one of the biggest gold heists in the history of the country baffles authorities. Can you send the tip that will close this case for good? And later on, a gang of thieves break into a Southern California pet store, stealing $100,000 worth of French bulldogs. Now, we need your help to find these guys. And remember, you can make a difference. Welcome back. As we just saw in the summer of 2020, police in Sumner, Wisconsin, responded to a call of a potential burglary at the Anderson family farm. And when an officer arrived, he was immediately met by the sight of Nedra and Jim Lemke's bodies and an onslaught of gunfire. While the officer ran for cover, Kevin Anderson allegedly set the house on fire and fled, and he hasn't been seen since. Let's hear about the charges Kevin Anderson is facing and what Nedra and Jim's children have to say about it.
Shots fired at the residence! Shots fired!
Jefferson County Assistant District Attorney filed charges against Kevin Anderson. including 2 counts of first-degree intentional homicide.
I was contacted by my oldest brother, Joe. Joe goes, he just says they're gone. And he just said it like 3 times in a row. And he's like, the farmhouse is gone. And they're gone.
It's been 3.5 years now since this all happened. And I mean, I still pretty much think about it every day. And I know it weighs on my wife, and I know it weighs on my boys, too. We don't know where he is. We don't know if he has any interest in us or in our lives, or if he is alive. Is he keeping tabs on us? We have no idea. And that's just really why I really want Kevin to be found, so I can let my guard down and enjoy my family.
When I think about that they're gone, I'm sad about the way they died. The needless pain. I miss my mother's hugs. You can't get that back.
Absolutely heartbreaking story for all involved. And Jim and Nedra's children, Josh and Jen, are here tonight. Thank you for having the courage to come here.
Thanks. After a tragic loss like this, how are you both coping?
I think there's a lot of anticipation because he hasn't been found.
It's frustrating.
It's frustrating.
I'd like to see resolved.
You need justice.
What do you miss most about your parents?
Their presence. That's an easy one for me, because right before they passed, I got engaged, so they weren't at the wedding. You don't have a dad to talk to about the first purchase of your house, or a mom to talk to about your first kid.
I waited my whole life to be a grandparent. It's a special job.
Yeah. I think my dad was my biggest validator. Now there's a big gap with a massive unknown out there.
What about you, Jen?
Just the family dynamic of being able to see them. I can't call them and ask them questions anymore.
What would it do for your family if we caught Kevin?
None of the family feels very safe. We all have some type of safety protection or measures, and it just kind of sits in the back of my mind. I don't want him out there to hurt somebody else. I would like resolution and justice for my parents, and I'd like to make sure that he's, taken care of and put away.
Off those streets, because he's a loose cannon, isn't he? He's dangerous.
Oh, for sure.
It's so sad you have to look over your shoulder for that creep. But I hope our audience is going to help you tonight catch this dirtbag.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for being here.
God bless.
Kevin Anderson is 65 years old and 6 feet tall with brown hair and blue eyes. When he was last seen, he weighed 200 pounds. He's an avid outdoorsman and hunter and was very familiar with the wooded areas that surrounded the family farm. If you're camping or hunting and you see this guy or have any information about this case, don't hesitate. Call us at 866-AMW-TIPS or go to amwtips.com.
Coming up next, an extremely elaborate gold heist in North Carolina, but authorities were stumped. Who were they and how did they do it? We'll learn all about this intriguing case when we return. And later on, 14-year-old Abel Acosta walked into a Texas gas station and allegedly opened fire, killing 3 other teenagers. Well, he's on the run, and we need your tips to find this punk. Now, all night we'll need your help with these local crimes happening all across the country. Crimes could be happening in your town. Just after 1 a.m. at the Top Dog Pet Store in Gardena, California last November. Shocking surveillance shows the gang breaking in and heading for the prized pets. And while alarms sound and the dogs bark, these suspects drag the dogs' cages straight to their getaway vehicle, an unmarked white Chevy cargo van with California plates 8T18982. That was waiting in the parking lot. The burglars managed to steal 12 of the purebred dogs, including puppies, worth almost $100,000. Look at these dirtbags flinging these innocent dogs into the van. They also stole $2,000 in cash from the register. And all of it happened in under 5 minutes. If you know anything about these dog nappers, no tip is too small. Call us or go to our website right now, 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. This next case comes from North Carolina, where a big rig carrying almost $5 million in gold was ambushed on a remote stretch of I-95. By the time the authorities arrived at the scene, the gold bars were gone, and the only thing that remained were a whole lot of questions. Let's see how they pulled it off.
In my years as sheriff, this is definitely one of the most bizarre cases that has ever occurred. Armed guards being robbed, but gold is taken. It was something that you would think would come out of a movie.
March 5th, 2015, motorists are driving along Route 95 in Wilson County, North Carolina. Route 95 is a major north-south freeway that runs along the east coast of the U.S., from Miami all the way to northern Maine.
A semi-truck was traveling down the interstate with the two security guards, the driver and the passenger. They worked for an armored carrier company, and they were transporting this gold and silver from a refinery down here in South Florida, and they were heading up to Massachusetts to deliver the gold. And the business would take the gold and melt it down and make jewelry or coins. This is pretty common.
The driver and the passenger, they smelled a strong odor, which got to them to where they felt like they needed to vomit. The driver then pulled the truck over to the right shoulder of the road.
By the time they made it out of the truck, it was too late. Presumably, they were setting up these construction cones to make it as though this was just a normal semi-truck, broke down on the side of the road, and a repair van had just pulled up and was going to repair it.
They take over 6 barrels of gold and silver and place it inside the minivan.
The subjects who robbed the truck took a total of 10 gold bars, talking about 275 pounds of gold, as well as some silver coins worth $4.5 million to $5 million.
People start calling in some very bizarre sights along the side of the freeway.
911, what's your emergency? There's some gentlemen at a truck with handcuffs that are at mile marker 114.
Looks like they've got some sort of guard uniform on. They've got their hands zip tied behind their back, trying to flag people down to call the police.
When the sheriff's office and law enforcement showed up out there, they find these 2 uniformed security guards zip-tied, and they tell this elaborate story of how they were robbed on the side of the highway of gold bars. It was the 4th largest gold heist in the country. The story just didn't make sense, and the only plausible answer at the time was, this has got to be an inside job. We're combing through all the driver and the passengers' phone records, bank records. I mean, we were really trying to flush out this possibility that this was an inside job. 2 security guards agreed to take a polygraph to clear their name, and both of them passed with flying colors. They had nothing to do with the robbery at all. Leaves you with this dead-end conclusion of, how would anyone even know what was on this truck? The 2 security guards weren't involved, so it really just made it challenging to find out who really is behind this operation.
Wow, what a heist. You got a big rig transporting an extremely large amount of gold. Now, Kelly, wouldn't they use an armored car, safer, smaller?
I mean, you'd think so, but an armored car is going to get a lot of attention. But there are so many big rigs out there, it'd be a lot easier for them to blend in. The other advantage is that a big rig can go for over 2,000 miles without refueling. When you're transporting such an expensive amount of goods, every time you make a stop, it's an opportunity that you could get robbed. Just last year at the Toronto Pearson International Airport, a cargo container with $17.2 million in gold and cash was stolen from a warehouse, and that case still remains unsolved.
It's crazy, but in 2024, gold heists are still happening. It sounds like something out of the Wild West.
It's definitely less common these days.
Now authorities had no idea who was behind the big rig heist or how they did it. We'll find out more about who authorities say was behind this record-breaking heist. And we'll talk to a reformed jewel thief to get his take on the case. Then later we continue our look at robberies of every variety, like these creeps who cops say followed a man and his son home from the bank, and this serial bank robber in Arizona. But right now we're looking back at a Florida bank robber and jail escapee that we busted way back in 1988. Mark Austin Goodman.
Right after last week's program, Mark Austin Goodman, wanted for at least 10 bank robberies in Oklahoma, was found in jail under an alias. He was busted by fellow inmates, but while in handcuffs, he escaped. His 7th escape from custody. Goodman has been a fugitive since March 4th, when he walked out of the Pinellas County Jail in Florida. He'd actually convinced an officer he was scheduled for release.
At 4:06 Monday afternoon, 18 hours after his escape, Goodman was arrested by Jupiter Police and finally admitted his true identity. 45 minutes later, he was returned to the custody of the United States Marshals.
Now, with your help, we'll catch even more of these dirtbags. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. Police say that an elaborate ambush of a truck carrying almost $5 million in gold was successful. But who were the thieves and how did they do it? Let's find out.
The FBI evidence response team was assigned to conduct a search of that truck. When we examined the interior of the vehicle, we noticed that there was a hole in the floor of the cab. And the hole was probably about ½ an inch in diameter. And from that hole, we could see that it led to a larger box. Tucked in very discreetly, we found a fire extinguisher that appeared to be modified. We also found an electronic control unit, and there was also a GPS tracker. What we suspect happened, they were able to remotely activate the fire extinguisher and cause that odor to occur within the cab of the truck and force them to pull over.
10 months later, in January 2016, we got a call from a woman who had told us that she was in a relationship with a man that bragged that he had robbed a truck up in North Carolina and got an incredible amount of gold. She even saw the gold herself and the money and the guns. The woman identified the man as a guy by the name of Adalberto Perez. Immediately, we start learning who is Adalberto Perez. We start digging into his financials, to his phone records. The cell towers that his phone used, we were able to trace his whereabouts from South Florida, heading up to North Carolina, right where the robbery occurred, and then turning around and then appearing back down in South Florida after the robbery. And we were able to come up with another name, Roberto Cabrera. 4th grade education, but was able to come up with this elaborate plan and build these elaborate tools.
They had Cabrera, they had Perez, but they still had one more suspect to identify.
When we were talking to Roberto Cabrera and debriefing him about the robbery, he finally gave us the name of Pedro Santamaria. Who is Pedro Santamaria? He was like a ghost. The addresses he had came back to nothing. He had over 50 aliases. He'd been arrested countless times. So with the fingerprints, we're able to start tying all these aliases and all these different names of individuals who committed crimes, and we find out that it's all been committed by the same person. We don't know what he did with all the gold. They split the gold up into thirds. 3 1/3 gold bars, you're talking about $1.5 to $1.75 million worth of gold. Adalberto Perez and Roberto Cabrera both cooperated with us and ultimately were convicted and sentenced. But Pedro Santamaria is the only one in this case that still hasn't been held accountable for what he did that day. Pedro had actually been spotted in Mexico back in 2019. Weren't able to get our hands on him at the time. I'm fairly confident that he is still in the Mexico-Texas border area.
We definitely got to get this guy to bring him to justice because what he done to these victims is not something that should be allowed. Plus, this guy has $1 million of gold in which he shouldn't have in his possession.
Now we're joined by someone who has completely reformed themselves and knows firsthand how these types of heists work. Former jewelry store robber and now criminal educator, Brian Sobolewski. Brian, thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
You actually served 3 years in prison for the crimes that you committed.
Correct.
But now you've turned your life around and you actually educate the public and even law enforcement on how these types of criminals operate.
I was convicted of armed robbery. I was convicted of larceny, and I was convicted of conspiracy.
How long did you do that for?
We robbed 22 stores over 5 years. We probably did about 3 a year.
So mostly jewelry stores?
All jewelry stores.
All jewelry stores.
Yep.
How are you helping law enforcement now?
At first, it was almost by mistake, because anytime somebody did a robbery that was like ours, I would get questioned. So they would sit me down and say, here's the job. How would you guys do it? And they tried to, be tough with me, but after a while, they realized they didn't have to. I was happy to help them out if they needed it.
Now, authorities say these guys got away with more than $5 million in gold and silver. How do you think they were able to pull this off? I mean, that's a lot of gold.
Yep. Planning. It's planning. It's a dry run. It's going over it again and again and again. And it's having people that know this industry.
Now, somebody has a gold bar. Can you melt it down, and will jewelers buy it from you?
I've never seen a gold bar, and all the gold that I have seen, they're very distinctive. You can't go into a jewelry store and, hey, can you show me the gold bars?
Yeah.
Once you have it melted down and turn it into jewelry.
But you got to know how to do that.
You have to, and you have to have a tight circle of people
and
that you
trust. Who do you learn that from?
It's a good question. You either do it by trial and error and then end up doing some time. I used to call prison university, because if you're not in there to reform yourself, you're going to learn how to do your crime and the mistakes that you made and probably go out and do it again.
Now, in this case, 2 out of the 3 suspects were caught. They obviously made some mistakes. How do you think Santa Maria has been able to avoid law enforcement for this long?
He's smart. He has a very tight-knit group of people. If he has multiple identities, I can make up a name right now and ask you to call me that name, but I need a license. That's very difficult to do, and you don't trust multiple people to do that.
If you could say something to the suspect we're looking for, Santa Maria, what would you say to him?
Oh boy, you're in a heap of trouble. And as you look forward down the road, you're looking at them breathing down your neck, and that circle gets tighter because of this show. And I'll tell you, I was on the run for a year. Hated it.
It is tough.
I didn't drive my car once out of the front windshield. I was looking in the back windshield the whole time. Yep. It's miserable. It took years off my life.
But let me ask you, did you ever think you'd be on America's Most Wanted? You're on it.
No, absolutely. Well, I was so excited because I started watching it in prison. The inmates get quiet, they said, mostly because they want to see if they know anybody on there.
America's Most Wanted was the #1 show in prison.
You're a legend in prison. I'm honored you called me a dirtbag. So I'm honored to be here.
Well, we're glad you're here, that you've turned your life around.
Thanks, John.
And you're doing something very, very positive.
I appreciate that.
So we need to catch this guy tonight, but thanks for the help.
You're welcome. I'm glad
Keep up the good work.
Thanks, John.
All right.
Pedro Santamaria is a black Hispanic male who is 5'7", and when last seen was bald and weighed 180 pounds. He's now 61 years old with brown eyes and may have black hair. He has a noticeable scar on his left forearm. He used up to 50 different aliases in the past, so he might be going by a different name. His prior arrests include robbery and aggravated assault. If you see Pedro Santamaria, do not approach him. He's considered armed and very dangerous. Call us or go to our website immediately.
Up next, 14-year-old Abel Acosta allegedly opened fire in a Texas convenience store, firing 20 rounds in 9 seconds and taking the lives of 3 innocent teenagers. But first, did this crime happen in your community? Disturbing footage out of Arizona tonight. A serial bank robber, often dressed in scrubs, who held up 3 banks in 4 months. Starting on August 12th at approximately 10:45 a.m., watch Dr. Dirtbag leave Chase Bank at 1821 East Guadalupe Road after handing the teller a note stating that he was armed with a gun. He does it again on October 6th around 9:55 a.m. at the U.S. Bank located on 1 North McDonald in Mesa, Arizona. And again, November 3rd around 9 a.m. when he returns to that Chase Bank in Tempe. This time, he verbally demands the cash box, apparently holding here what I guess you'd call a handgun. Then, impatient, climbs over the counter to get it himself. He's described as a black male, aged 25 to 30 years old, 5'10" to 6 feet tall, weighing around 220 pounds. Take notice of the tattoos on his arms and the earring in his right ear. Look familiar? If you have any information on this creep, call us or go to our website, 866-AMW-TIPS, or at amwtips.com. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. You know, I want to use this program to not only find fugitives, but to find the many, many missing children that are out there. and get them home to their families where they belong. So, have you seen Andrew Escobar? He's been missing since last June 25th. Andrew is 11 years old with brown hair and brown eyes. He's 4'11" and last known to weigh around 95 pounds. He likes to play chess and rock climb. While Andrew was last seen in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, family tells us he may now be in northern Colorado, specifically the Evans and Greeley area. So if you've seen Andrew, please call us right now, 866-AMW-TIPS, or go to amwtips.com. Let's find this little boy. Cal, back to you.
In 2021, 14-year-old Abel Acosta walked into a Garland convenience store and opened fire. Within seconds, 3 were dead, 1 was injured, and with the help of his father, Acosta was gone. Authorities now need your help to locate and apprehend this alleged murder, to put him behind bars where he belongs. We're going to talk with Eugene Lopez, the mother of one of the murdered teenagers in that convenience store. With so many young people involved, we know that this content is sensitive, so please note, this footage could be upsetting for some.
It's the day after Christmas 2021 in Garland, Texas, a town just outside Dallas, and unfortunately for that community, any sense of holiday cheer is about to disappear. Police say that's when the actions of a 14-year-old, Abel Acosta, and his father, Richard Acosta Jr., destroyed the lives of 3 local families forever. On December 26, 2021, 2 friends, 17-year-old Rafael Garcia and 16-year-old Ivan Noyola, seen here on surveillance video, are shopping at a local Texaco gas station, not knowing that they're being targeted. Authorities believe that Rafael and Ivan had previously gotten into an argument with another teenager named Abel Acosta. The argument was possibly over a necklace. Cops say Abel's father helped his son track down Rafael and Ivan by driving him to the convenience store that night, even going so far as to walk inside to possibly see where Rafael and Ivan were. Watch as the 14-year-old suspected murderer leaves his father's truck and creeps into position with his gun drawn. Then, in a matter of seconds, the teenage murder suspect unleashes a deadly barrage of gunfire. Abel Acosta runs to his father's getaway vehicle, and they both flee the scene. Both Rafael and Ivan tragically died that night, and so did another boy who had never met any of the teenagers, a 14-year-old named Xavier Gonzalez, seen here on his phone. Xavier had simply gone to the store that night to pick up some food for his family.
He went for the tacos and then came back. Me and my family, it's not the same no more. We don't have them here, and it's not fair.
The next day, Abel Acosta's accused getaway driver, his own father, Richard Acosta Jr., turned himself in and was eventually convicted on capital murder charges for his part in the killing of 3 teenage boys.
Abel Acosta's family members helped him get away. They're not cooperating with us.
This investigation will not sleep until we actually get that person off the street.
And now Xavier's family are hoping for that one tip that will bring them justice.
Somebody's helping him out there. It's not fair how they took my son's life away.
He was a really smart little kid. He always had a smile, always.
3 teenage boys lost their lives that night. One of them, 14-year-old Xavier Gonzalez, had never even met Abel Acosta. His mother, Eugene Lopez, is here with us tonight. Nellie, thank you for joining us. And
thank you very much.
It really breaks my heart to see such a pointless murder.
Thank you.
Now, Xavier was just 14 years old, the youngest of the 3 that were murdered that day. Tell us about your son.
He was a good student. He will help me out a lot with my daughters. He will help my husband a lot working. And everything you will ask him, he would do it. He will help out.
Sounds like a good kid.
Yes, he was.
This occurred just the day after Christmas. What have the holidays been like since his passing?
They've been awful holidays for us. It's not the same no more at all.
Our Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, birthdays is not the same no more. It's just that he was the one that would keep us all happy, laughing, joking around.
Now, take us back to when you found out what had happened that day.
He wanted some tacos from the corner. Tried to call him. He wouldn't pick up. He was always picking up on the first call. That's where I kind of got concerned. When we got there, I took off running to the gas station. They didn't let me go into the gas station at all. And that's when I turned around and I saw my sister, and I went over there to her and I asked her, Xavier, he's gone. And I was like, no, it's not true. She was like, yeah, he's gone. And I was like, no, it's not true. And they were asking me what kind of clothes he had. And that's when they told me it was him there. And he passed away.
He's your angel now, you know that. I didn't want to make you cry, but I wanted you to come here and give you some hope. That's what this show's about, hope. You know, I was going to ask you what you would say to somebody that knows where this creep is.
To please turn him in. Don't stay quiet. Stop hiding him.
We'll find that bad guy.
Thank you very much for everything that you have done, and I hope they do get him.
God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nellie. Be on the lookout for Abel Acosta. The crime happened in Garland, Texas, where some of his family still resides. Authorities believe there may also be a family ranch near Llano de Bustos, Veracruz, Mexico. The Acosta family may have other ties to Acapulco and Juarez, Mexico. Abel Acosta is now 16 years old. He's a Hispanic male with brown eyes and brown hair. When last seen, he was 5'5" and weighed 125 pounds.
Now let's find this guy. If you've seen Abel Acosta or have any information about this case, whether you're in the U.S. or across the border in Mexico, contact us right now at 866-AMW-TIPS or go to amwtips.com. I've said it a million times. You can run, but you can't hide. Now, when we come back, we're going to review all of the cases and the dangerous fugitives that you saw tonight. But first, can you help us solve this crime alert? You're about to watch disturbing footage of a home burglary in Tacoma near 33rd and Mason. Even more disturbing, the suspects left the scene only 15 minutes before the homeowners returned. The female burglar approaches the front door and knocks to see if anyone is home, while her partner is casing the side and back of the home. After being inside for over 30 minutes, cameras captured her partner leaving the residence with multiple bags of stolen goods. He loads the stolen items into the getaway truck, a 2021 or newer gray Toyota Tacoma, which included jewelry, personal documents, including a birth certificate, and a debit card that they used for $1,000 at Dick's Sporting Goods. If you've seen these suspects in the Tacoma area, don't hesitate and contact us right now. Send your tips to 866-AMW-TIPS or at amwtips.com. Terrifying home footage that no one ever wants to see. 3 men following a Texas man and his stepson home from a bank in an attempted jugging crime near Dallas last September. Now watch as the man pulls into his driveway around 1 p.m. and the suspects block his car with their SUV. These jerks jump out, handguns drawn, and swarm the victim's vehicle, attempting to open the doors while pounding on the windows, demanding that he give it up. Unbelievably, one of the suspects tries to break the driver's side window with his elbow, but the victim has another plan and hits the gas, with the suspect still holding on to his doors, forcing these losers to let go and retreat to their vehicle empty-handed. Jugging possibly originated from the slang term jug, which means a large sum of money. It's an increasingly popular crime where criminals follow their victims as they leave a bank or ATM after withdrawing cash. And it's happening more and more. Here's another shocking video of a jugging that took place in Plant City, Florida, also last September. This cell phone video taken by a witness shows a man climbing out of a pickup that he broke into to grab the manila envelope that you can see him holding here, containing the victim's cash. Police say the suspect may have followed the female victim who was making a withdrawal from the Bank of America He was seen leaving the area in a silver Honda Pilot with the Florida tags B5D-NZF. If you know anything about these incidents or these suspects, please contact us right now, 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com. Remember, you're our partner in this, so if you have any tips, big or small, about the cases you saw tonight, please contact us immediately. Kevin Anderson is 65 years old, brown hair and blue eyes. He's 6 feet tall, and his last known weight was around 200 pounds. Anderson is an avid outdoorsman and may be living off the grid in a wooded area in the northern Midwest. If you see him, do not approach him. He's considered armed and very dangerous.
Pedro Santamaria is 5'7" with brown eyes, and at the time he was last seen, was bald and weighed 180 pounds. He's a black Hispanic male who's 61 years old and may have black hair. He also has a scar on his left forearm. He's originally from Cuba, so there's some speculation that he has returned to his home country. There's a reward of $10,000 for information that leads to his arrest.
Abel Acosta is a 16-year-old Hispanic male with brown eyes and brown hair. When last seen, he was 5'5" and weighed about 125 pounds. His last known location was Garland, Texas. If you live in Texas or in Mexico, we got to get this alleged murderer off the streets as soon as possible.
If you see any of these fugitives in public, do not approach them. Contact us at 866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com.
Coming up next week on America's Most Wanted, a Texas woman survives a savage knife attack
White settlement 911.
with the help of a quick-thinking 911 operator.
I've got blood all over me.
Now police need your help to find the monster responsible.
I'm Callahan Walsh.
And I'm John Walsh. Thank you for watching. And remember, you can make a difference. Good job, bro. I'm John Walsh, and I've dedicated my entire life to locking up the worst criminals. Since 1988, we've caught 1,191 fugitives.
We're tracking down one of the most ruthless gangs of lawbreakers we've ever gone after,
including several of the FBI's most wanted. And we've reunited dozens of missing children with their families.
Do miracles still exist? Yes. And we have Elizabeth back.
But the job continues, and this time, my son Callahan joins the fight. With your help, we're going to put more low-life criminals behind bars, including these that you'll see tonight. First, Luis and Vanessa Ramirez, both convicted of sexually exploiting a minor. They're now wanted for violently attacking a social worker and kidnapping their 2 children after losing custody. We're also on the lookout for the man accused of murdering his wife on their wedding night, FBI top 10 fugitive Arnaldo Jimenez. And finally, Tyler Wilkinson is accused of possessing hundreds of fentanyl-laced pills and selling the ones that killed 17-year-old Brooke Badger. America's Most Wanted, the original true crime series, is back. You can run, but you can't hide. Hello, everyone. I'm John Walsh, and this is America's Most Wanted. You know, I gotta say that I'm thrilled to be back. After my 6-year-old son Adam was abducted and murdered in 1981, I dedicated my life to giving a voice to the voiceless, helping victims of senseless crimes get the justice that they and their families so deserve. Well, today we need this show more than ever. And lucky for us, we now have more tools at our disposal to catch these criminals, like age progression technology, GPS tracking, advanced DNA profiling, and ever-expanding social media. So follow along at Fox TV and spread the word about all the fugitives you've seen tonight. As always, we have a great team of expert investigators working alongside with us, with local and state police and the FBI. They're all standing by to take your tips, because you are our partner in this. It's you that can make a difference. Whether you call 1-866-AMW-TIPS or visit our website, amwtips.com. I guarantee you can remain anonymous. We don't need to know who you are or where you live. We need your tips. Joining me in this fight is someone who shares my passion for justice, my son Callahan. He grew up on the set of this show and is now an executive director at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and one hell of an advocate for children.
Thanks, Dad. Being part of a family where someone had been taken from us, like Adam was, we always said that we want to make sure that he didn't die in vain. So I'm honored to follow you in your footsteps and continue this legacy you started nearly 40 years ago.
Well, we're glad to have you on board. So let's get right to work. Our first case is about a terrible Tucson couple, Luis and Andrea, aka Vanessa Ramirez, who in May of 2018 had just been arraigned on an alarming 20 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor and were days away from standing trial for these alleged horrendous crimes. Because of their charges, they lost custody of their two small children, Luis Jr. and Camila.
Luis and Vanessa never showed up to their trial. Instead, they vanished into thin air. But not before police say they violently assaulted a child protective services worker in broad daylight in order to abduct the two innocent children.
Well, they're still on the run, and we really need your help to find them as soon as possible. Take a good look.
I've been married for 20 years, and when I first came into the family, my husband's family is very welcoming. All his brothers and his sisters, his parents, and of course, my brother-in-law, Luis. He had aspirations of being an artist. Luis did go to church with his parents. There, he met Vanessa. That's when everything changed. We just started seeing Luis go downhill. The path that we thought he was going, he was deviating from. And then Vanessa gives birth to Luisito. We were excited to have a new family member, but at the same time, it was a worry of how they were going to support this new baby. Things got worse. Luis and Vanessa and Luisito move in with my in-laws. There's certain things that toddlers do, and Luisito wasn't doing.
He was 3 years old and not talking and not potty trained, which are really crucial for development. And it was a real worry.
But we had no idea the extent of what was going on. In 2016, I learned that Luis was being sexually inappropriate with a minor.
The victim, she was 13 years old. Luis Ramirez was engaging in sexually motivated activities with her. Vanessa Ramirez was involved in those activities. They would touch her, paint her body, photograph her, put her in sexually explicit positions. This had been going back several years. In 2016, based on the allegations, detectives searched the home. They did locate 3 firearms. One was an AR-15, one was a pump-action shotgun, and the other was a 9mm handgun. They were actually in the reach of their young child. During the search, along with the firearms, they also located several pieces of electronic devices. Detectives were able to locate several images of the victim that corroborated her statements about the sexual exploitation she had faced. Because we found evidence of sexual abuse of a minor and the fact those loaded weapons were in such easy access to the child, we used those as charges, and we also used that as justification to remove Luis Jr. from the home for his safety.
To know that this was going on behind the scenes, that my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law was capable of doing these disgusting things with a minor, it's shameful.
Because Luisito wasn't able to talk, it's hard to know if he witnessed the abuse going on.
But we jumped into action and decided to bring Luisito into our home. Luisito came to us in November 2016. He was full of love. He wanted to be loved. Luisito was very much a part of our family. He just fit in like a missing puzzle piece.
No way!
We were able to get Luis potty trained, and he started learning how to speak. The changes that we saw with him, they were good changes. He was a completely different child. And then we learned that Vanessa was pregnant again.
When Camila was born, Child Protective Services immediately removed her from their care for her safety.
they asked the aunt and uncle if they would be open to fostering her as well.
Almost all of us have kids, and dealing with these crimes, unfortunately, you see your child in some of these investigations thinking, dear God, you would never want them to go through anything like what these children have gone through. So when we take steps to remove a child from a home, it is not taken lightly. We're doing it for the absolute benefit of the child to keep them safe. April of 2018,
Luis and Vanessa were both indicted with 20 counts of sexual exploitation of a minor and 1 count of child abuse.
Following the arraignment, because the victim for the sexual exploitation was not their child, both Luis and Vanessa were released, believing that they had no access to the victim. Before the trial, the court allowed Luis and Vanessa a supervised visit with their 2 children.
The morning of May 4th, 2018, we sent Luisito and Camila out the door with the caseworker, and that's where we saw them for the very last time. Luis and Vanessa kidnapped the kids.
Joining us in studio to tell us more about this case is the victim's aunt, Erica Ramirez.
Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate that you guys are getting Luis and Camila's story out there to the world.
Absolutely.
Now, before you got custody of the kids, how did you know something maybe wasn't quite right?
I can remember back about a week before we got custody. Luis wasn't talking. He would blink his eyes if he wanted to say yes. He would point to things that he wanted. He baby talked. And this was about a week before his 4th birthday.
Obviously, you had concerns. What was your reaction when a caseworker told you that Vanessa and Luis would end up in jail at some point?
I couldn't believe it. I was astonished at the things that they were telling us. I was worried about what could happen when they were on their visits with their parents.
How about the first night without those kids?
Thinking back to that first night, it was heart-wrenching. I cried all night long. We waited all night for somebody to come knocking, for the phone to ring that they found them. We had hope in the Amber Alert that, they were going to be found. And when we did go home, the toys were everywhere. Camila's jumper, Luisito's, toys that he had. And it was just a broken heart all over again, just emptiness.
Unbearable. It reminds me of the first night that Adam went missing. You come back to the house and all of his toys and all of his things were there. I will remember vividly that first night of saying, what has happened to my child?
Yeah, that's how we felt.
It's unfortunate, but oftentimes it's the families that is what it takes to keep these stories going, to keep them in the media, to keep people out there looking for these kids. And you're doing that by being here today. We'll never stop searching for these kids. We'll never give up hope. So thank you for being here, Erica.
Thank you.
If you have any information about Luis and Vanessa Ramirez, contact us immediately. You can always choose to remain anonymous. 1-866-AMW-TIPS or amwtips.com.
When we return, more information about Luis and Vanessa Ramirez on how they abducted their children and their possible whereabouts. Plus, Elizabeth Smart joins us to talk about this case with her firsthand experience and knowledge of child abductions. And later, cops in Boise need your help to find Jacob Dean Smart, a low-life serial stalker wanted in 3 states. Help us find this creep.
Well, you did it again. The notorious Texas 7 had the entire state of Texas and then the whole country in terror. A vicious gang of convicts, including murderers, serial rapists, and a child beater, busted out of prison. Then you came through with a tip that took them all down. Thanks to you, they're going back to prison where they belong.
Now, this week is the 23rd anniversary of that monumental catch. Like I said before, and I'll say it over and over again, you really can make a difference. Because of you, we've caught a total of 1,191 fugitives on America's Most Wanted. So let's get that number even higher. Luis and Vanessa Ramirez weren't fit to be parents, but no one could have guessed what they were about to do next. It will both shock and terrify anyone who's ever cared about a child.
Hello? Tucson Police Department, do you have an emergency?
Yes, I do. I was tied up in the woods.
Tucson Police receives a phone call from a lady who had been bound to a tree. A gentleman who was walking the area of Silver Lake Park found her. It was a social worker with the Department of Child Safety, and she had been conducting a supervised visit with both Luis and Vanessa for their 2 small children. She explains that at one point Luis moves to the side of her, and as he does so, he does produce a taser and actually activates it. Grabs her arm, forcing it behind her. Luis, he ended up getting her to a tree. He bound her hands and her legs using the zip ties and the duct tape. He then took her bag and he left the area. Time was of the essence. We were trying to get coordination with the border. We have such close proximity to Mexico. The next morning, we were able to locate the suspect's vehicle parked near the border, and were able to locate video of them crossing into Mexico on foot.
My hope is that someone out there is watching and can find them, because my worry is that they're not safe. Luisito and Camila, we love you so much, and we have never stopped looking for you. And we're gonna get that call. And it's time to pick you up. It's time for you to come home.
Well, now we're joined by Elizabeth Smart, who made national headlines in 2002 when at age 14, she was kidnapped from her very own bedroom in Salt Lake City, Utah. 9 months later, 2 citizens recognized her and her captors less than a month after we featured them on an episode of America's Most Wanted. They alerted the authorities and she was rescued. Elizabeth, thank you so much for being here tonight. You are not only an advocate and an activist for missing persons and child safety, but you are a very strong survivor and someone I'm really proud to work alongside in the fight to make this world a safer place for all of us.
Well, thank you for highlighting me 20 plus years ago, and thank you for having me back today.
It's always great to see you.
Now, when it comes to the parental abductions, they're very complicated. And from working at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, we've had a ton of experience with these types of cases. And what a lot of people don't know is that most kidnappings are actually done by a family member or parent. In fact, in 2022, for 58% of Amber Alerts were actually for family-based abductions. Now, Elizabeth, what's been your experience working on missing children's cases where it's actually a parent who's abducted the child?
Those are some of the most heartbreaking cases because the public sits there and thinks, well, a parent took them. They're not really going to hurt their own child. But as you know, as I know, parents are the people who are supposed to love and protect you with every part of their soul, and yet they're the very ones hurting you. That's the deepest kind of betrayal I can imagine.
When you were abducted by strangers, they took you out in public multiple times. What might someone notice about a child with an adult out in public that might tip them off that something maybe isn't quite right?
For the public, I think you do have to trust your gut. If something feels off, pick up the phone and call in. I mean, I might not be here today had someone else not trusted their gut and picked up their phone and called. Call the police or call in, because at least hopefully we can help rescue a child. And to Luisito and Camila, hold on to each other, believe in each other. And if you are being hurt, know that that's not normal. You shouldn't be hurt. You shouldn't be neglected. You shouldn't be forced to do things you don't want to do, or if your name is being changed, that's not normal behavior. And know that there are people here searching for you and loving you and wanting you back.
That's great advice.
Couldn't agree with you more.
And certainly, if you have the chance to get away safely, if you have the chance to scream or kick or yell, and I fully recognize that does not come naturally, take it.
You know, there's nothing more inspiring than standing beside a survivor who makes it their life mission to make sure no other human being has to endure the pain that they've been through. We really appreciate you being here tonight, Elizabeth. I'm so proud of you. You're one of the strongest survivors I've ever met, and you're a great mom.
Thank you.
Now, the last time they were seen, Luis had brown hair and brown eyes. He's 5'6" and weighs 230 pounds. Andrea goes by Vanessa. She's 5'1" and weighs 220 pounds with curly brown hair and brown eyes. But be aware, they could have changed their appearance dramatically.
We have an AMW age progression of each of the Ramirez children to show what they may look like now in 2024. Remember, this is a family of 4 that could be traveling together, and at this point, they may have even had more children. Luis Jr., also known as Luisito, is now 11 years old. He may be smaller in stature for his age. His sister Camila is now 5. They both have black hair and brown eyes.
Luis and Andrea, aka Vanessa Ramirez, haven't been seen since May of 2018. Their car, a green Toyota Camry, was found later near the Mexican border. Surveillance video also captured them crossing it the very next day. So if you've seen the Ramirezes, do not approach them. And to our friends in Mexico and Central America, we want to hear from you too. Please send us your tips. Call 1-866-AMW-TIPS or go to amwtips.com. Remember, you can always, and we guarantee it, remain anonymous. Coming up, police say Arnaldo Jimenez brutally murdered his bride on their wedding night. And then, a brazen drug dealer sells a teenager deadly counterfeit pills before going on the run. And later, the Hill's Audrina Patridge and her sister, Casey Loza, join the fight against one of the deadliest epidemics our country has ever faced.
But first, throughout the episode tonight, we'll be bringing you crime alerts from across the country, some that could be even happening in your very own community. Can you help us identify and catch these suspects?
Chilling footage of a wanted serial stalker kicking open the door of a home near Boise Ave and Chrisway Drive in Boise, Idaho. His name is Jacob Dean Smart, and police say he's wanted in at least 7 cases across Idaho, Washington, and Oregon. This creep allegedly follows his victim's home and breaks into their residences later. Once he's inside this home, he steals a firearm and some women's underwear, which he's known for taking from many of his victims' homes. He's a 38-year-old white male with brown hair and brown eyes, standing 5'11" and weighing 200 pounds. If you have any information about Jacob Dean Smart, call us at 866-AMW-TIPS or go to amwtips.com. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. Our next case tonight involves a dirtbag who police accuse of murdering his beautiful bride on their wedding night and then skipping town before anyone could piece together what had happened. His name, Arnaldo Jimenez.
My sister Estrella was the life of the party. You heard her before you even saw her. She was loud, happy. She was always laughing.
She was my best friend. We did everything together. We've known each other since we were 4 years old, went to high school together, had our babies together at the same time.
My sister Estrella had her first child, Genevieve, when she was only 17. That relationship with the father didn't work out. She just wanted to enjoy her daughter and her life since she was still very young.
Hey, the camera.
One night, she met Arnaldo at a nightclub. He was a construction worker, yet he was always taking her to flashy clubs, getting her jewelry.
She would often tell me how much she loved this man and how she wanted to spend the rest of her life with him.
After about 4 months, she became pregnant, which was definitely not planned, but she embraced it. She loved her kids, and she decided to try to make it work.
I asked to be interviewed in Silhouette because I know what kind of person Arnold is. I lived in fear with my mom for years.
Arnaldo was possessive.
jealous. One time she had to come to my house with the kids. She had bruises on her. She would tell me that you don't know what he's capable of. So when she told me she was getting married, it was a shock.
The family feared that perhaps Arnaldo was pressuring Estrella to marry him.
Estrella dreamt about having a big wedding. That's all she ever wanted to do, but she decided to go to City Hall and get married with him. Estrella and Arnaldo were the only ones at the courthouse.
They rented a party bus that same day, and they were gonna go club hopping. I couldn't go, so last minute I couldn't find a babysitter. I just heard she looked beautiful. Everybody was partying, drinking, and having a good time. The next day, we had a big family event. But when she didn't show up by 6 p.m., we hadn't gotten a hold of her. She hadn't gotten the kids. That's when we knew something was wrong.
The family called asking for a welfare check, so Burbank PD went to Estrella's house to check on her.
When we got there, the cops were already blocking the doorway.
Stay right there.
Everything from there is just blur.
Police enter Estrella's house.
Hello?
Everything looked normal. They find Estrella's body in the bathtub, wearing the same silver cocktail dress she was wearing at her wedding reception.
She had been stabbed 18 times.
And that's when I see the ambulance. It has no sound. Because they're not coming to help somebody. That's when I realized she's gone.
We're here with Estrella's sister, Jasmine Carrera. Now, first of all, Jasmine, we are so sorry for your loss. As someone who's lost a son myself, I know what it's like to go through something like this. So beyond incredibly painful.
Jasmine, seeing your sister go through this type of relationship, on average, it takes women about 7 attempts to successfully leave an abusive partner for good. What would you tell someone else out there who might be experiencing this, who's watching this right now?
It's very hard for them to let go. Be patient. So please don't give up on them. Be supportive.
And you not only lost your sister, but these 2 children lost their mother. But you were happy to step into that role. What does it feel like to be a second mom to Estrella's kids?
For me, it's rewarding because I know that my sister would have done the same for me.
What would it mean to you and your family to see Arnaldo locked up for this murder?
It would be peace of mind to know that she had justice, that, everything that she went through, it's not going to go unsolved.
Well, I want to thank you for your courage. I know you never give up on this case, and I'm hoping we're going to catch this coward.
I have a lot of faith this show will bring us some kind of justice and closure for us.
I know firsthand that it can. Now, Jimenez is one of the FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives. There's a reward of $250,000 for any information that leads to his arrest.
As of the last time he was seen, Jimenez weighed 225 pounds, is 6 feet tall with black hair and brown eyes. He is considered armed and very dangerous. If you see him, do not approach him. Instead, call us at 1-866-AMW-TIPS or go to our website, amwtips.com. You can always remain anonymous. We guarantee that. And we're standing by to take your tips.
When we come back, we have more disturbing details about alleged murderer Arnaldo Jimenez and where he may be hiding. Later, we need your help identifying these alleged carjackers in Maryland. You can run, but you can't hide. Welcome back to America's Most Wanted. Arnaldo Jimenez was a low-life scumbag who police say ruthlessly murdered Estrella Carrera on their wedding night. Now, he's still out there, but his time is running out.
My mother was a wife for not even 24 hours.
and her life was taken from her.
Investigators learned that after Estrella and Arnaldo got married at City Hall, they rented a party bus around 11 p.m. Their plan was to travel around Chicago and celebrate with their friends and family. They stop at a liquor store and buy alcohol for their guests. From the liquor store surveillance footage, the couple appears to be happy. They look like newlyweds. Then, according to eyewitness reports, around 2 a.m., they drive to a nightclub on the north side of Chicago. Partygoers tell detectives while at the club, some sort of conflict occurs between the couple. Witnesses say they saw Estrella crying. Then later that night, around 3:30 a.m., the newlyweds leave the club. They both get into his Maserati and drive off. And that's the last time Estrella is seen alive. After the night of the murder, Arnaldo Jimenez fled. Even though no murder weapon was found, investigators had enough evidence to secure a warrant for his arrest. Authorities found that Arnaldo was arrested on drug charges in 2007. Turns out, Estrella and her family could never prove he was a construction worker, but believed he was a drug dealer.
One time she mentioned how she loved this man, but that she knew that he was going to be the death of her. I'll never forget that conversation.
In September of 2012, 4 months after Estrella's murder, investigators found Arnaldo's 2006 Maserati in a residential garage and discovered blood in the interior. The blood samples tested positive for Estrella. This further confirmed that the man she married was the suspected murderer, Arnaldo Jimenez.
Knowing that my mom will never make it to any of my big milestones is something that I have to live with for my whole life. But knowing how much love my mother had for me, I have to continue on her legacy.
We have an AMW age progression of Arnaldo Jimenez showing what he may look like now with both short and longer hair. Last he was seen, he had black hair and brown eyes, 6 feet tall and weighing 225 pounds.
Jimenez previously resided in Chicago, Illinois. Authorities say he may have fled to Durango, Mexico, specifically in the area of Santiago Papasquiaro. He may also frequent Reynosa, Tamaulipas, Mexico. There's a reward of $250,000 for any information that leads to his arrest. Call us at 1-866-AMW-TIPS or go to our website, amwtips.com. And remember, you can always remain anonymous.
When we come back, a young girl is dead after buying counterfeit pills from a scumbag dealer on social media. But now, here's a crime alert that we need your help with. You're about to watch a terrifying and violent assault and robbery at gunpoint that occurred at 5200 North Masher Street in Philadelphia last October. 4 unknown suspects barge into Bally's Pizzeria around 12:30 a.m., hoods up and faces covered. They demand an employee who was closing up for the night give them access to the cash register. And these scumbags get exactly what they came for, over $3,000 in cash. But it's not enough, as one perp points his gun at the victim and demands he empty his pockets as well. After the suspects have taken everything they can, they make their way out. The suspects pulled up in a white SUV, possibly a GMC Acadia, with a partial Pennsylvania tag, JFK 44, and were last seen going south on North Masher Street. If you have any information about these suspects or this incident, send us your tips at 1-866-AMW-TIPS or at amwtips.com. Welcome back. The latest data from the National Institute on Drug Abuse says 100,000 people die from drug overdoses every year, and half of those deaths are related to synthetic opioids, primarily fentanyl. And in our next case, after just a few exchanges on the social media app Snapchat, a 17-year-old with her whole life ahead of her acquired the pills that would kill her, and the low-life drug dealer with a shady history is still on the run.
We could tell at a very young age that Brooke was very artistic. That's what made her unique. She struggled with depression and anxiety during COVID, and I noticed that she was using social media a lot more. Brooke had just graduated high school and was so excited about going off to college. In the morning of June 18, I was headed downstairs for my second cup of coffee, and I immediately knew something was wrong. I opened up Brooke's bedroom door. I couldn't see her face, but her body was extremely pale. Her fingers were curled up and stiff. I remember letting out a loud scream.
We got a call that there was a death in the city of Lake Forest and that it was possibly an overdose.
They discovered her Snapchat account, chat messages with a drug dealer who sold her counterfeit pills the day before she passed away.
I was able to identify the suspect, Tyler Wilkinson, a 23-year-old Orange County resident arrested multiple times for narcotics.
The drug dealers started selling drugs on social media platforms, and unfortunately, some of the big problems with platforms like Snapchat are anonymity and destruction of messages. It makes it incredibly difficult for parents to monitor what their kids are doing.
We stumbled upon the drug dealer's menu for the day. Brooke saved those messages. Otherwise, the messages would have disappeared.
Brooke ultimately died from counterfeit oxycodone pills, with the primary drug being fentanyl.
Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid, 50 times more powerful than heroin. We've really seen it dominate the drug landscape here in the United States for the past 5 to 6 years. It doesn't take much of this drug to kill.
I received a call from the DEA, Tyler David Wilkinson. There was a warrant out for his arrest, but he's in hiding.
A fentanyl dealer on the run is dangerous. It's likely that he's still selling drugs, he's still harming people. We need to help find him.
I don't want any other family to go through what I have gone through. I will never, ever give up until justice is served.
We're here now with Brooke's mother, Han Badger. Han, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you, John, for having me on the show.
Absolutely. Now, you're actually a pharmacist, which must have made losing Brooke just that much more heartbreaking. You know firsthand about the fentanyl epidemic, but these kids don't think they're taking fentanyl. In their minds, you have to take it by itself for it to be fatal.
It's a huge misconception. It's a fentanyl poisoning crisis that we have here in America, John. It takes just a very small amount, equivalent to a few grains of salt, to be lethal. In Brooke's case, she thought she was taking Roxicet, a prescription that contains oxycodone and acetaminophen or Tylenol. She had no idea that it was a counterfeit pill that was going to end her life.
It's so deadly, isn't it? So deadly.
It's deadly and devastating.
Yeah. Now, you and dozens of other parents have filed a lawsuit against Snapchat for allowing this kind of activity on their platform. What do you hope to get out of this lawsuit?
To save lives so that no other family has to go through this.
Well, we wish you all the luck in the world. And thank you for being here and taking on this huge epidemic.
Thanks, John.
We contacted Snapchat for a comment, and they said that, quote, "We have deep empathy for families who have suffered unimaginable losses and are working diligently to stop drug dealers from abusing the platform." And now we're joined by another family who knows the devastation this drug can cause. Audrina Patridge from the Hills and her sister, Casey Loza. Thank you all for being here. Casey, your daughter Sadie was only 15 years old when she passed away from fentanyl in February of last year. You haven't publicly spoken about her death. What made you want to come here tonight and share your story?
You got this.
Sure.
I chose to come on the show today because today would have been her 16th birthday. Let's figure out what's going on and try to create change.
You are so brave. She's your strength. She's proud of you for coming here, and so are we.
She would have wanted you to do this.
I mean, she was beautiful. She was so smart. She was so smart. Ever since she was little, her teachers would be like, I'm voting for her for president. Like, I've never met a more compassionate, ambitious, intelligent, caring little girl. She was just full of energy, and she was so talented.
She sounds amazing. You know, everyone thinks it can't happen to you. But it only takes one pill, one time, and you've lost your little girl. You know what bothers me so much is when people say, oh, that kid was a drug addict. No, they take one pill.
Yeah.
You can take an Adderall to study for a college exam. It'll kill you from the fentanyls in there.
It's not just
a marijuana
hard drugs.
Yeah.
It's a weed gummy.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
we got in a car accident and she really hurt her hip, her lower back. It was like after a month of doctors, ice and massage and this and.
So she was suffering from chronic pain due to that car accident, and that's why she was seeking some relief from that.
Yeah.
Percocet for back pain.
She thought she got Percocet. I mean, they have phones, they're smart, they have the internet. They grew up with having anything you want at access. They're like, oh, I have a migraine and here's a menu. Like, it's crazy how easy and accessible it is. And these guys know that, and they're instantly gone and they disappear.
Absolutely.
These transactions are happening so fast. It's hard for law enforcement even to catch up.
And I think this day and age, no one has ever dealt with this. It's a epidemic. And that's why I want to use my platform to bring awareness, because we as parents and adults, we need to figure out what to do to fix it.
Exactly. And you can't protect your child from an enemy you don't understand.
We always say at the National Center, it's about empowering children to make those safe and smart decisions, recognize those risky situations, and learn how to avoid them.
Thank you. And thank you for starting this show and all of the people that you've caught. And I'm sorry for your loss as well.
God bless you. First year is always the toughest, and you got your best friend here taking care of you, looking out for you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Alarming video coming out of Bethesda, Maryland, where a gang of brazen criminals hold a man at gunpoint in an attempted carjacking in the 7300 block of Wisconsin Ave. The suspect's maroon Nissan Rogue pulls up to the victim, who is standing outside of his 2022 Porsche 911. One of the men gets out of the Nissan, gun in hand, to demand the victim's keys. The other suspects jump out to help his pal, who is threatening the victim, just off camera. But their accomplice in the Nissan is getting impatient. After hitting the victim in the head with a gun, two of them return to their getaway car, while the third gets in the driver's seat of the Porsche 911. But there's a problem. The thief can't drive the Porsche's manual transmission. They fled the car and the scene, and now Montgomery County PD needs your help to track them down. If you recognize any of these suspects, let us know right away by calling 1-866-AMW-TIPS or visiting us at amwtips.com. It's your tips that can help us bust these bad guys. Let's take one more look at the fugitives that are still on the loose tonight. First, Luis and Andrea, a.k.a. Vanessa Ramirez. Luis has brown hair and brown eyes. He's 5'6" and weighs 230 pounds. Andrea, who goes by Vanessa, is 5'1" and weighs 220 pounds. Here are the images of their children with AMW age progression and what they might look like today. Luis Jr., now 11, and Camila, now 5.
Next, Arnaldo Jimenez, wanted for first-degree murder of his wife Estrella on their wedding night. He is 6 feet tall, weighing 225 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. He is considered armed and very dangerous. There's a reward of $250,000 for any information that leads to his arrest.
And finally, in Southern California, 25-year-old drug dealer Tyler David Wilkinson. He stands 6 feet tall, weighing 155 pounds, with brown hair and hazel eyes. He has a tattoo of a lion on his right forearm.
If you have any information, do not hesitate to call us at 1-866-AMW-TIPS or go to amwtips.com. Coming up next week on America's Most Wanted, a beloved high school football coach is gunned down, shot 6 times at point-blank range. We have new, exclusive, never-before-seen information about this senseless murder. Let's give his family the justice they deserve. I'm Callahan Walsh.
And I'm John Walsh, and thank you for watching. And remember, you can make a difference.